Right, this is the River Mersey. The name means boundary river. It was once the boundary between the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of Northumbria on this side and Mercia the other side. River floodplains have been valued since ancient times. Classic example was the Nile in Egypt, but this river was Lancashire and Cheshire's Nile. And floodplains in England have a specific type of vegetation. The key ones are a tall herb called great burnet and a grass called meadow foxtail. Great burnet is now sadly quite rare. There's only 1,100 hectares of floodplain meadow still left in Britain, which is very sad because floodplain meadows are extremely biodiverse. The old farmers managed these meadows on an annual cycle. In summer, usually July, they would cut the grass and then dry it in the sun and then transport it off the meadow for storage. In spring, early spring, the meadows were shut up again and the grass was allowed to grow until the following summer and the cycle went round again. The farmers cut the meadows with scythes. The scythe is an implement with a long curved ash shaft with two protective side handles and a long curved blade at the end. And the idea was to swing the scythe in an arc, keeping the blade as close to the ground as possible to produce the hay. So what happened to the meadows? Patterns of land ownership changed. A lot of the old free tenants left the land or became landless labourers. And some of the bigger farmers created what were called ley meadows, L-E-Y for ley. What they did was they ploughed up their meadows and they re-sowed them with grass and clover. The next thing that happened was that there was the growth of Manchester's suburbs. A lot of rich people from the city moved out to villages like Chorlton. And roughly between 1890 and the First World War, they bought up the old meadows and turned them into golf courses. Subsequently, they were turned into things like football fields. The underlying river gravels in a few places were dug up in order to build that motorway that you can hear. We lost an awful lot of our grassland to tree planting. In fact, a lot of our native grasslands are now endangered by tree planting, which is generally seen to be seen as a good thing, but I don't believe it is. This management of hay meadows went on for centuries, and now it's been almost completely forgotten. And the only clues that are left are these little scraps of vegetation and some obscure references in some old books. Because these riverbanks are mowed by the Environment Agency every year, does that count as wild? I don't think we have any really wild places in Britain. Most places are affected by human activities. But the closest we get to the wild are places like these riverbanks and like the open spaces over here. A wild plant is any plant that establishes self-sustaining colonies in the wild. So none of these grasses, for instance, And the taller plants you can see at the edge have been planted. They're all here now. They've all arrived of their own accord. People just want to plant things, and that's gardening. That's not proper conservation. You have to value what's here already. People need to study it and learn more about it so they appreciate the subtleties.